and welcome to Behind the Stunts. I'm John Orty. Thanks very much indeed for joining me. We'll crack straight on with this movie of the week, and in many people's eyes it's the movie of the year. It's been an awful long time coming. You combine action adventure with rock and roll in the movie Bula. For those of you who aren't familiar, Status Quo are an enormous rock band, famous for their boogie style rock, and they've been around for 50 years. Put it in some sort of perspective, there's the Rolling Stones and the Status Quo, right? 50 years they've been going, and to celebrate their 50th anniversary, they got together with Stuart St. Paul, who is a stuntman, stunt coordinator, second unit director, and now first unit director, to create an action adventure based around them. This all started back two years ago, I believe, when they were invited to appear on an episode of Coronation Street, long-running soap. Stuart was directing, and at some point during the course of the day they said, you know, we'd really like to do a movie. And so Stuart and his team, they got together and they come up with an idea and said, how does this grab you? And they went, that'll do. And effectively the deal is that they've just finished a gig celebrating their 50th anniversary in Fiji. If you're going to do a movie, do it somewhere warm, right? First rule of movie making. So they finished this gig on stage in Fiji. Rick Parfitt and Francis Rossi decide to go backstage and have a drink to celebrate. And as they wander through, they discover that there is some extraordinary cartel going on, and anyway, a fella is killed. There's a murder. They've witnessed the whole thing. They grab some of the evidence en route, and they're off across the island, being chased by the villains. Right, let me tell you a little bit about Stuart St. Paul and his background to all of this. He started, of course, as a stuntman, and moved on to stunt coordinating, second unit directing. Has directed a bunch of pictures beforehand. Before this he did a movie called Freight, which was about trafficking, and before that The Scarlet Tunic, back in 1997. And certainly is responsible for writing this picture as well with his team. I personally remember him for being in a whole series of adverts about a particular brand of lager, and well, this is what I'm talking about.
I bet he drinks Carling Black Label. Oh, the next bloke through that door.
Watch out! Gives a pint of aftershave.
Straight glasser.
Your best bet for a fuller flavour.
And he goes from strength to strength. His career advanced swiftly through the 1980s with pop videos like Duran Duran's Wild Boys, and that got him a job on James Cameron's Aliens, and he did a couple of Bond movies and Batman, and went from strength to strength after that. So Stuart St. Paul responsible for the direction of this particular movie. Stunt coordinator wise is Jimmy O'D. James O'Donnell is responsible. He's also in the picture, plays a heavy with Luke Kearney. And just to whet your appetite and to give you an idea of what to expect, here's the trailer.
Your dad looks unsavoury.
I think we're about to witness a murder.
Not if we don't look round. You ain't from round here, are you? Don't make us play.
I'll get me coat.
In Fiji, the undead are a serious problem.
Caroline, stay with them.
Excuse me, mate. Do you drive dead people?
In Fiji, Rick and Francis are a serious problem. Don't let them make a sight. I don't want no bad press, no police, no nothing.
Whoever they are, I want them brought to me. If they're still alive, they can be the main game.
These guys are real gangsters.
He has no idea it was you, so let's try and keep it that way.
Do you know anyone in the local mafia?
No. Why?
Who are these clowns?
Dead clowns.
You're having a laugh, yeah? It's a flip-flop. And this DVD is proof of a murder. Okay, don't worry about it. Get him!
I'm not being funny, but I feel we're gonna have to jump.
Simon?
I'm not gonna die again in Fiji, am I?
I'm only joking, I'm not serious.
Another one bites the dust. Oh, no, that's not one of yours.
Let's call the police.
Let's not, eh, Rick?
You just tell him you're a tourist.
I am a tourist.
What are you, CIA? MI5?
No. We've forgotten all that.
Oh my god. I think I'm starting to like them.
There we are. Great knockabout stuff, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if we haven't seen the last of Quo on the big screen. So go and catch that, please, if you will. I mean, it's in selected cinemas at the present time, but it is going to get national release. And the album's out and a whole bunch of other connected stuff with that, so go out and see it. It'll be great fun. Now, Stunt Reel this particular week is a man who, well, I personally owe a great deal to. I'm talking, of course, of Corey Eubanks, who is responsible for Stunt Stories. Stunt Stories is pretty much the reason why I do this, because, you know, it was a great inspiration. And Corey was in the business, 30 plus years, and had so many wonderful stories to tell about his time there. Did 20 shows, and it has since stopped, but hopefully it will carry on again at some point. He's obviously extremely busy because he's required in all manner of different pictures and television. And how did he get into the business? Well, as he says himself, he got in through nepotism, because his stepdad was responsible for a television series called The Newlywed Game, which ran for about 20 odd years back through the 70s and 80s. And he got his SAG card. He performed in a picture called The Sting 2, did some boxing, and was sat watching the Dukes of Hazzard one day in the house, and said, "Oh, wouldn't it be brilliant to jump that General Lee? I'd love that. That'd be just so cool." And his dad went into his office and rang his producer of The Newlywed Game, who also happened to be the producer of the Dukes of Hazzard, and said, "My son's a stuntman and he'd love to be on your show." And within about 40 minutes, the phone rang, and Paul Baxley was on the phone, the stunt coordinator, who said, "Well, we need to get you a SAG card." He says, "I have a SAG card. Ron Stein got me a SAG card, because I was in a picture called The Sting 2 doing some boxing." He said, "Well, in that case, come on down. Here's the location." He said, "Right." And then the first AD rang him and gave him times and gave him directions. And it started from that. He went down and started appearing and doing work on the Dukes of Hazzard, and has never ever looked back. And from my point of view, Stunt Stories was massively important to me, and I wouldn't be doing what I do today if it wasn't for him. So I have a great deal of admiration for Corey. And of course, choosing him for a stunt reel feature is fine if he has a stunt reel. I couldn't find one, so I've had to create one, because there's plenty of resource out there. Now, I'm going to show you this now. Bear in mind that if we had the ability to be able to put all of Corey Eubanks' clips together, it could run for some 12 days easily. But we've had to chop it down to a brief one. But it gives you an idea and a flavour of what it is that Corey Eubanks does and how he makes a living. So sit back and relax, and he'll introduce himself. Here we go.
Welcome to Stunt Stories. I'm Corey Eubanks. Thanks for watching.
And falling off a bull was the most dangerous. I mean, apparently the Pee Wee Herman movie, out of all of the movies that he's done, that was the one where he ended up with more injuries, more time in hospital than any other picture. So extraordinary stuff. Did a bit of bull riding, and consequently that's how he got that job there. And that bull was throwing him about left, right and centre, so he was doing his very best to stay on. 3 seconds is apparently the average. I'm not a bull rider myself, but apparently 3 seconds is a good stay on. And that was a bunch of different clips, so he's done his best to stay on there at all. So there we go. Our stunt reel feature for this particular week is the awesome Corey Eubanks. And now it's classic stunt sequence, and there is what could be said about this? It's an extraordinary fire job. There's no two ways about it. Let me just give you a brief background on this. We're going to see Dick Ziker's full burn from Westworld. Now, in 1971, let's just go back a couple of years. In 1971, George Leach performed an extraordinary full body burn on the Bond movie Diamonds Are Forever. He has set fire on a boat, and he leaps over the side of the boat. Now, there was a full face mask involved. He looked very much like the actor that he was doubling, and one of the guys that were inspired by this particular stunt was Dick Ziker. Westworld, originally, the idea for the ending, for how to dispose of the cowboy, didn't have a fire job. And Dick Ziker was very instrumental in saying, look, I've seen this, and we could do something so big. The size of the project got to the stage where, I mean, in Diamonds Are Forever, the flames above George Leach's head are some 15-20 feet. What we see here is Dick Ziker using oxygen. He is breathing during this sequence, but he only has a short supply of air. But it's a long burn. Now, what we've had to do here, once again, due to copyright, we've had to take a little look at the initial partial body burn, and then to a behind-the-scenes look at the actual footage of Dick Ziker being set alight, which is astonishing. And you'll see towards the end of the sequence that he's actually looking around for hand signals, and people are doing this, hit the floor, you know, waving at him, get down, get down, get down, because he wouldn't be able to hear anything in there. So just have a look at this, because it is exceptional. Here we go. stuff going on there, and that's been, you know, marvelled at for years. The extraordinary size, the length of the burn is is quite extensive, I must admit, but extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary stuff. And it's a terrific movie. If you haven't seen Westworld for a long time, go and see it, because there's some other great gags in that picture too. A great barroom brawl as well, as I remember, involving Buddy Joe Hooker. So take a look at that, please, if you will. That's it for this particular week. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Next week, what have we got? Well, we've got Pacific Rim, and we've got a stunt reel from Derek Barnes, who's a Canadian stuntman. You'll like that, it's terrific. And then the movie clip for next week is going to be Lethal Weapon 3. All right, so thank you once again for joining me, and keep up on the uploads that are taking place on YouTube, and I will see you all again next week. Thanks very much indeed, and bye for now.